kindergarten, and welcome to another reading lesson. Today is so exciting. We have a brand new text to read, but first, let's find out who our inspirational spotlight is during the month of February, Black History Month. Today, we are spotlighting Molly Williams. Molly Williams was the first African American woman who was a firefighter. She was originally brought to the firehouse to clean and cook. However, in 1818, which was a long time ago, there was a blizzard, a lot of snow that covered New York. And many of the men in the firehouse became very sick with the flu. Because Molly had spent so much time around the fire equipment, she knew how to help fight fires. She became one of the volunteers answering the calls for the firefighters. Molly was known for her strength, her toughness, and ability to help as well as any of the men. She believed that she could do anything she wanted to do, and she jumped right in, and she was able to help out and be a firefighter. You can also find a children's book titled Molly by Golly, and this text is all about Molly Williams. This is a legendary tale that introduces to young readers to Molly Williams, an African-American cook from New York City's Fire Company 11. This text is all about what happened on that winter day where she was able to jump in and help all those firefighters that were sick. What a great woman to be inspired by being a firefighter. That is fantastic. Which brings us to our reading thinking job today. Today's text is all about firefighters. Before we dive into our reading thinking job and steps, your teacher's going to pause the video and talk about what do you already know about the job of a firefighter. We know firefighters, they ride in fire trucks, they put out fires, they can rescue people, they can rescue animals, they keep us safe, and we're going to learn all about a day in the life of a firefighter. Our reading thinking job is I can retell key details of a text. In an earlier lesson, we practiced retelling key details in the text The Year at Maple Hill Farm, and today we're going to practice again using the text A Day in the Life of a Firefighter so that you can better understand this topic. Remember, we use our own words when we retell the text at the end. And if the text gives information in a certain order, we need to remember to retell it in that certain order. Our reading thinking steps to get to our reading thinking job of I can retell key details of a text in order. Well, first, we're going to talk about what the text is mostly about. Then we're going to see what details help us understand it the most, and then we'll retell the details in our own words. Key details are the most important part of a story. We use those question words. Who is in the story? What is the story mostly about? Where is it taking place? And what happens in the story? So let's find out what the day in the life of a firefighter is all about. In the Life of a Firefighter by Linda Hayward. Rob Green packs clean clothes and says goodbye to his family. Rob is a firefighter. 8 a.m. At the fire station, he puts his clothes in a locker. Rob is on duty for 24 hours. Chief Myers gives the firefighters jobs for the day. In case of a fire, Rob is on rescue. Rob gets other jobs too. Check the hoses and the nozzles and cook supper. A new restaurant needs to be inspected this morning, Chief Myers says, and a second-grade class is coming to visit after lunch. Rob checks. Nozzles change the way the water sprays out of the hose. All of the nozzles are working. Pete turns the engine. Is there enough gas? Lewis checks the oil level. 10:30 a.m. Rob and Pete inspect the restaurant. Is the fire exit light on? Where is the fire extinguisher? Do the sprinklers work? 12 p.m. It is lunchtime. Lewis tells about his fishing trip. He caught enough to share. Later, Rob will cook the fish for supper. 1:30 p.m. Miss Hill's class visits the fire station. Where is the siren? Rob shows the class what he wears to a fire. This is the air pack. Remember, Pete says, in a room full of smoke, stay near the floor. It is almost supper time. Rob cooks in the firehouse kitchen. Fried fish for 12 hungry firefighters. 6 p.m. Ring, ring, ring. The fire alarm goes off. Everyone scrambles. Rob is ready to go. The fire engine roars out of the station. Ee-oo, ee-oo, goes the siren. 6:10 p.m. Pete puts on his mask and takes the attack line to the door. He waits. Rob is on rescue. Michelle's dog Pickles is still in the house. Rob goes in first. He hears a bark. He finds Pickles in the den. Rob takes Pickles to Michelle. Pete has a radio inside his helmet. Attack line 1, go. Peter goes in. Soon water will rush out of the hose. The fire is out. Rob folds the hose. Lewis helps with the cleanup. 8 p.m. The chief reports the house is safe now. Back at the station, everything is cleaned. The hose, the truck, the firefighters. 10:45 p.m. Rob cooks again. At last, the firefighters get to eat their fish dinner. Then it is time for bed. Rob sleeps at the station. Before he falls asleep, Rob thinks about Michelle and Pickles. He smiles. He has the best job in the world. Picture word list. Nozzle, fire exit, sprinkler, siren, air pack, mask, helmet, hose. All that we just listened to the text, a day in the life of a firefighter. First, let's talk what the text is mostly about. Your teacher's going to pause the video and talk about what text is mostly about. Well, we learned that this text is mostly about firefighters, and we learned what firefighters do during a typical day. By looking at these 2 pages in the text. Your teacher is going to pause the video and reread these pages, and then you are going to find what are some key details from these pages to help you better understand a day in the life of a firefighter. On these pages, we learn all about Chief Myers, Rob, and some other people he works with. We learn that the chief gives out jobs. Do you remember what are some jobs Rob has? You might have said he has to check the nozzles and the hoses, and he's in charge of cooking supper. What's another detail that we learned about happening at the firehouse later on in the day? We learned a 2nd grade class is coming to visit after lunch. We also learned that one of the other jobs the firefighters need to do is to go to a restaurant to check it out. Let's look at these 2 pages from the text. Your teacher is going to pause the video, reread the pages if needed, and then you are going to find what are some key details on these pages that help you better understand about a day in the life of a firefighter. We learned on these pages, these firefighters, Rob, Pete and Lewis are checking out the fire truck. They're doing their jobs that Chief Myers gave to them. We learned the firefighters check the truck. What are some details about the truck we learned about on these pages? We learned about the nozzles. We learned about the hose. We learned if there needed to be gas, and they also checked the oil. Let's take a look at these 2 pages. Your teacher's going to pause the video, might need to reread the pages, and answer the question, what are some key details on these pages that help you better understand a day in the life of a firefighter? We learned on these pages that the firefighters met with the 2nd grade class and taught them all about fire safety. What are some things that we learned, details that we learned on these pages about fire safety? We learned about the siren. We learned about what firefighters wear. And we learned what you need to do when the room is full of smoke. Let's look at these pages from the text. Your teacher will pause the video, may reread these pages, and then you're going to answer the question, what are some key details that help you better understand a day in the life of a firefighter? These pages, we learned the firefighters got called to a fire. It shows us what they do first, next, then, and last. The key details help us better understand that they fight a fire. What are some important details that help us understand a day in the life of a firefighter? First, we can retell the text by saying firefighters check the truck. Then they teach the students. Last, they put out the fire. Today in Seesaw, you are going to draw and label 3 key details in order from a day in the life of a firefighter. You can draw your picture in the box provided and then write your labels on the line. Until next time, bye, Kipsters.